Welcome back to Spoken Words with T and J. I'm T.
I'm Jay. So today I'm tired.
We both tired.
But we're gonna be doing a video regarding like strongholds, and we've talked about this a little bit, but not deeply, and how the enemy can actually use your own family and use your own siblings to go against you and stop you from the purpose that God has for you. So in my previous video, I had mentioned like a relationship between like me, my sister, my father, our parents. For those who know my sister, the family especially, y'all know some of the things that's happened between like us and our father, and the passing of our mother, and some of the things that my sister may have done regarding those. So this is just going to be, if you guys ever want to know like the deeper meaning of all of that, well, this is that story. And then he also has actually a similar story to mine.
Yeah, it's similar. It's between me and my brother.
I'm like, we actually have similar stories, but we're both going to be sharing that. I do have our daughter with us. She was getting very fussy, so I had to pick her up, and I'm gonna be feeding her a bottle in between. So we gonna do what we can. Yeah, we tired. Stop yawning.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, we are so tired. And I'm in my element, y'all. I'm in my element. If you are a parent, you're a mom, you're a dad, I don't try to get glammed up these days. That's why I be looking at, I don't care. I'm beautiful and all my mother glory. I don't care.
She don't gotta glam up. She still look good.
Yes. I'm like, I love myself. We're good. Okay. So I want to say the earliest that I started to see a change. So just a small synopsis of like childhood. I talked about a lot of my childhood in my last video, so I don't want to go too much in, So between like me, my sister, and my parents, my mom has 3 children. She gave birth to my oldest brother and then my older sister. And then she had me. So on my mother's side, I am the baby. And on my dad's side, I actually am the second oldest. And my sister is his firstborn. My parents were married, but they ended up getting divorced shortly after I was born. So I don't really remember the marriage or anything like that. I was a baby. And my sister, by the time she was 5, had to go through a lot of therapy. Because unfortunately my mom had done some abusive things toward my sister, because see, my mom and my dad were divorced, and my sister was a daddy's girl, and she missed her father. And my mom, because she was married to my father, whom I might add was narcissistic, I was told, these are things I was told, by the way, disclaimer, I can't prove any of this. I'm going by what I was told and to what I actually witnessed. But for right now, this is what I was told. I was a baby. I don't know. But I was told that, my mom ended up having a mental breakdown. She gained a lot of weight after having me. She wasn't very confident in herself. She got a lot bigger. And when they split up, my mom went through it mentally. And my sister missed my dad. So unfortunately, with my mom being in the stricken state she was in, she would abuse my sister. And eventually that led to my dad end up having to take custody of my sister. My father. So my dad had told us, well, he had tried to kill himself twice. Oh, Jesus. Okay, so my father had tried to take his own life twice. And he actually ended up in a psych ward twice as well. This was before he had even gotten custody of my sister. And they gave my sister to my father anyway. So, I mean, just imagine the system, right? And unfortunately, that began, I felt like, the destruction of my sister's heart. She would tell me how they moved around a lot, how she didn't have a lot of what she needed, like clothes, shoes. My dad was a dumpster dog. to me, a dumpster dog, someone who likes to get a lot of their stuff from the trash, right? My dad worked for a lot of, excuse me, I want to say garbage truck companies. So he was one of the ones that like, either he drove, the garbage truck, or he, what do you call that? They grab the cans, and I don't know what they're called.
I don't know what they're called.
I don't know what they're called.
They just work for the garbage.
Yeah, and he just would like go around, collect the cans, you know what I'm saying, and like dump them real fast. Like my dad was one of those. I remember he used to work for waste management, but he used to get a lot of stuff out of the trash, and unfortunately, that also meant a lot of the stuff that my sister, quote unquote, needed, he got out of the trash. He was abusive until he met my youngest sister's mom. And at least towards women. He was abusive towards women until he met her. And then he told himself he was no longer going to be abusive. Now, I was with my mom. I did not know who my biological father was until I was about 3. My mom said her boyfriend at the time, L, the one that I mentioned in my previous video, you know, I thought he was my father. But that doesn't mean my dad didn't come around. I just wasn't very familiar with him. So my actual dad actually came around. And my sister, my older brother, older sister were like, Daddy! And she said, I looked at them. I looked at my mom, and I was like, Daddy! Like, she said I was only about 3 years old. So I didn't really know, like, I know that was my father. Okay. My mom eventually started letting me go over there. And I started to notice certain things. You know, I did get in trouble a lot. I started to notice that my dad was very strict about stuff, and I kind of felt like some stuff, it was almost like you had to walk on eggshells around him. But I had mentioned this in my previous video too, where like you felt like you had to walk on eggshells around my father. At that time when we were younger, and that means that he was kind of still in his prime, because they had me young. My mom had all three kids by the time she was 22. So my parents were young around this time. And my dad was in his prime around this time, which means he was, to me anyway, at his worst. For those who don't know my dad, he always attracted a lot of women. My dad was always seen as an attractive man. I think am I allowed to say my dad is handsome? I just think that's weird to say. But anyway, I look like my father. But he always attracted a lot of women, but he would use that to his benefit, okay? He would use that to his benefit to attract women because he knew that he could. And a pattern I noticed, so it was my older sister, me, who was in 3rd place, Burger, which is my younger brother, one of my younger brothers after me. And then it was, it was Christian. Christian's my younger sister. And then years and years later, I mean, I'm like 11 years older than him, is my youngest brother, Chris. And then he counted my oldest brother, Trayvon, as his. So it was 6 of us. But, I could say that there were some fun times, like we would play the game, like wrestling games or Tekken. That was our stuff. Street Fighter, like that was our junk. We would have fun. We would have tournaments, see who could win. We had fun with that stuff. But my dad, I remember my cousin. So I'll just call her Aunt Kay. I'll have my Aunt Kay and my Aunt Jay. That's what I'll call them. I was around my aunts as a child more than anything. And then I had all my cousins, right? My Aunt Kay in total has 7 kids. Around that age, 7 kids. And then my Aunt Jay had 4, right? And we would go to their houses too a lot and play or whatever. My Aunt Kay's kids were seen as a little more rough around the edges. They liked to fight, stuff like that. But they grew up in that kind of environment. And my dad also liked to fight. So he would actually make us box each other. When we were all over his house, that's who he would have us put on the boxing gloves, and we would go against each other. Like, and then sometimes we would just fight just because that's just what we was being raised to do, right? So my sister was used to being around a bunch of boys. So she was rough around the edges, okay? Because now she's being used to fighting all the time. You know what I'm saying? My dad lived in like hood places a lot. She getting her clothes from, the dumpster, so on and so forth. Now let me go to my side of it. My mom lived in Seven Hills up until I was about 6, you ready to turn 7 or 7 years old. And then we left there, and we moved to Westchester. Yeah, I was 7. Yep, I started at Shawnee. I was still in the first grade. I was 6 going on 7. 6 years old going on 7. And that was when I started to notice my brother got into a lot. My brother was a great kid. He was a great older brother until we moved to Westchester. He felt like he got uprooted from his grounding, from his, friends and stuff. And by the time he was 13, he started to smoke cigarettes and hide it. So I'm like, we got moved over there. So if people don't know who Westchester is, it is actually a very suburban area. And by the time when we first moved there, I kid y'all not, all that stuff y'all see in Westchester now, none of that was there, okay? It was mostly land. Like you would drive, you would see trees, land, that big old cornfield. A lot of that stuff that you see now was not built yet. So we moved there when they was really starting to like industrialize and stuff. We moved there before a lot of that started. And then like even those houses behind Westchester, those houses behind the it was Wintry Apartments at the time. Now I think it's called Lakeview Front or something like that. We lived in those houses behind those, because I know some people know what I'm talking about. Those houses weren't even built yet. All of that was land. So imagine that. None of those houses were even built yet. Actually, we remember when those houses did start getting built. I remember. But we were there. My brother started acting out. We were one of, maybe 2 Black families at the time, which means we were around predominantly white folk. And unfortunately, and I do mean this, unfortunately, that meant that we actually experienced a lot of racism. I did experience a lot of racism from my teachers, some of my classmates. You did feel odd, out, because we went into the Lakota district. I went to Shawnee Elementary. My brother went to Junior Plains. And then it seemed like a better life, though, right? That was the purpose of it, right? Mm-hmm. Seemed like a better life. That was the purpose of it. And then, so my sisters got this side and I got this side. Now, granted, me and my sister's birthdays are a day apart, but we're 2 years apart. So we're exactly 2 years apart. My birthday is 1 day before hers, but we're exactly 2 years apart. So we're both have a lot of things alike. And me and my sister were always seen as super close. We laughed a lot when we were around each other, joked a lot when we were around each other, held each other's spirits together when we were around each other. My Aunt Jay's kids, her older daughters, were quite mean growing up. And I remember when we were being babysat, I couldn't have been no older than 7, 8. Hold on, my son. Oh, how do you pause it, baby?
And we're back.
Okay, sorry for that, guys. That was my oldest son. So where was I? Right, my Aunt Jay's oldest daughters, right? I remember when I was no older than 7, 8 years old, and my sister would go walking around a lot by herself. Because around that time, obviously she didn't have a car, but we didn't have a bike or anything like that either. She would go to school, walking to school. She had been to a bunch of different schools already. She felt alone. This is stuff she would tell me. She would confide in me about. And she was like, I always feel alone. I feel like I can't keep any friends. Daddy's always moving. And once we're here, then we're there, then we're over here, then we're moving with this aunt, then we leave that aunt, then we go over here with this uncle, then we leave that uncle, then we finally get our own place. She didn't like it.
No stability.
She didn't have a whole lot of stability in that moment. So we were at our Aunt Jay's house, and her daughters, I remember, was so mean. She would tell me how mean they were, how they would punch on her and beat up on her and be mean to her and lock her in a room and tell her she couldn't come out, so on and so forth, right? So if I'm 8, if I'm 7, 8, my sister's about 9, 10 years old. I remember when we were in there and our cousins and stuff, they were dancing or whatever. And this is when, y'all know, like we used to call it popping. Now they call it, yeah, we used to call it popping. So for y'all, them girls that be thinking twerking is a new thing, girl, no. This is old. We just used to have a different name for it. We called it popping back in the day. So I remember we was learning our cousin was teaching us how to pop, right? So when you pop your butt, right? We was learning how to pop. And I remember we was like in there, my sister was doing good, whatever, and I didn't have a lot of rhythm back then, y'all. I didn't have a lot of rhythm. I wasn't really that great at dancing back then, and I didn't really care to pop. That was like, my mom taught me not to do that. So I was like, I didn't really care, right? So I remember they made fun of me for that, whatever. We went to bed, y'all. I remember the sun started coming up. Me and my sister laying on the floor. They have a bunk bed, right? One on the top, one on the bottom. Me and my sister laying on the floor, right? And they literally look at us and go, y'all can't leave this room. What you mean? And I remember me and my sister had big old bags. Y'all remember having big old bags of change when you was little? And you could go to the candy store and get a big old pack of Now and Laters and Skittles and stuff for like 25 cents. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, so yes, not no more. But I remember we had big old bags of change sitting downstairs on my Aunt Jay's table. And me and my sister laying there, we wanted to get our change because we wanted to go walk to the store so we could get us some candy. So my sister was looking at me. She was like, we can't get our change. We left the change downstairs. And I was like, what you mean they saying we can't? And she's like, yeah, y'all can't leave this room. I was like, I have to use the bathroom. And she was like, my cousin N. I'm gonna say cousin N and cousin Nisha. That's what I'm calling them. So my cousin N was like, all right, hurry up and go and come back. So I got up, I went, and I came back, right? And yeah, she does that when she's sleepy. So I went to the bathroom, came back, and I was sitting there. I sat up like, and they both was like, yeah, y'all ain't leaving this room, because they both was still sleeping. They was like, yeah, y'all ain't leaving this room. Y'all bet not leave this room. Y'all better lay right there where y'all at. Like rolling their eyes and stuff. Y'all know, people who know me and went to high school with me, y'all already know I'm snappy. I was that way when I was that age too. Okay, this was me. So I didn't like the way they was talking to me. I'm only 7, 8. I was looking at them like, you ain't my mama. Like, who you talking to? I leave when I want to leave. So my sister, she was actually the obedient one. Like, people would not believe this. My sister was very quiet when we was little. She was quiet because she was always being told what to do, what to say, how to dress, where to go. She was very insecure too because people were making fun of her, saying she like a boy because she had on oversized clothes. I don't know if a lot of people knew, my sister was actually bald around the edges. That is not her fault. There's 2 things. One, when she was a baby, they had to shave her head and put tubes in her head. And when you do that with a baby, you actually mess up those hair follicles, and it caused my sister to get alopecia. That is why she had issues growing her hair right there. So a lot of people educate you. That's what happened. So she kind of already had like a lot of insecurities. Then she's being abused. Then she's being made in front of, talked about. She don't feel supported, So she's sitting there. She getting bullied a lot by the family. So she's sitting there laying like looking. And she's like, well, they said we can't go. And I started grabbing my shoes. She was like, Tay, what you doing? I was like, I'm leaving. Either you coming or you staying. But I'm going. And she was like, well, I said, I don't care what they say. I'm going to get up. I'm going to put on my shoes. And I'm going to leave. Even if they tell me to stop, I'm leaving. They can't make me stay in here. So she was like, and so she got up. She was like, wait. She grabbed her shoes. And I said, put your shoes on. Go out. Serious. Like, we was whispering. Because they was asleep. We was whispering. So I was like, come on, put your shoes on. So I get up. She get up. I was like, go, 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 go. She get up. She walk. They was like, hey, get back. And I said, boom. Slam the door. And we went downstairs, and guess what we did? We walked to the store to get our candy, like I said. So I remember my Aunt Jay was home by the time me and my sister came back. She was like, where y'all was at? I was like, oh, she said, yeah. Your cousin said that y'all just left. And I was like, nah, we just went to the corner store to get some candy real quick. We already said we wanted to do that the night before. My Aunt Jay was like, oh, yeah, that's right. She said, oh, no, y'all good. And I remember we left something upstairs. My sister went upstairs to go get something. And then I heard boom. And when she came back down, she was upset. And I was like, what happened? She was like, yeah, Nisha pushed me into the dresser because she was mad that we left. And I was like, man, I went upstairs. Y'all was like, I wish one of them would push me. Like, I'll push you back. Like, so I went upstairs. They didn't touch me. They didn't touch me. I just looked at them like, and I rolled my, I was that little girl, okay? You will not be this way. But I was that little girl. I rolled my ass like, and I grabbed my stuff and I went downstairs. And I remember my sister said she got hurt by something, and so they was like cussing at us and stuff. I remember I went all the way upstairs. She had 3 levels. She was all the way upstairs, like in the attic area. My Aunt Jay had her room, so I went all the way upstairs to my Aunt Jay, and I was like, they did, and they said, and they got yelled at. My Aunt Jay yelled at them. So I remember she yelled at them from her room though. And I remember as I was going back downstairs, my cousin Kay, it was my 2 boy cousins too, because my Aunt Jay, I told you she had 4 kids. She had 2 boys, 2 girls, right? They was standing right here. They was looking at me, and I remember I came downstairs, and my cousin Ian looked at me. And she's like, oh, you a little snitch, you a little snitch. Always telling on somebody, you a snitch. And I just looked at her like, and then she cocked her hand back. Bam! She smacked me across the face. And I was like, I went like this, and I went like this, and I looked at her and was like, BOW! Smacked her back across the face. And she was so shocked. I feel like I said, at the time, my sister never fought back. Like, my sister never stood up for herself. So they wasn't used to that. So when I slapped her back across the face, she stood there like, and I was ready for what was next. I was like, come on, like, come on, like, we'll fight. Like, I don't care if I lose, I'm gonna fight. I was ready, y'all, and I did get into a lot of fights. I did, but I was like, I'll fight. And she just looked at me and walked away. I was like, all right, cool. So then this is just to paint y'all a picture of like the differences in how we grew up, how we was raised, certain things that happened, so on and so forth. I talked about some of the abuse that my father did. Just know that my sister got it the worst because she actually lived with him because she had custody. She had custody. He had custody of her, so she got it the worst. I promise y'all, she did. The way they had it, my parents had to set up every other weekend. They would switch. So on one weekend, she would come over to my mom's house. The other weekend, we would go over to our dad's house. Me and Trayvon would. And then every other summer, most summers we went to our dad's, but it was a few summers they would come over. Now, things took a ugly turn for all of us. I was 8 years old, and he met Dee Dee. I'm being told to say her name. Her name was Dee Dee. She had 3 daughters, Gabby, Tina, and Devon. It was the worst. It was cool because it was like, oh, okay, we can have fun. They got kids. He got kids. Let's all fun, have fun together. Gabby was in between me and my sister's age, right? So it would be like my sister, then Gabby, then me. And then Tina and my brother Burger was the same age. And then Devon and my sister Kristen was the same age. Chris, my little brother, youngest brother, Chris, he wasn't born yet, but that's how far apart he is from everybody.
Came on later.
Yeah, he came on later. So, we all was playing, having good, at first. And my sister started telling me stories about how they would lie on her a lot, especially Gabby. Would lie on my sister constantly to the points where my sister got in so much trouble. She got whooping, she got punched, she got thrown down the stairs. She was getting beat on because they would lie on her a lot to gain attention or gain favor from my father. mainly Gabby, because she didn't have a relationship with her own father, so she was trying to use our father, you know. And this is when, unfortunately, I started to see a turn towards me and my sister's relationship. So I wanted my sister so badly, and I wanted her to live with us so badly, and my mom did too. And she kept telling my sister, all you gotta do is tell the judge that you want to live with me and I can have you. My sister, out of anger and out of punishment, would purposely not say that she wanted to live with my mom so that my mom could take her. She was mad at my mom. My sister was angry with my mom. She was angry with her. She held resentment in her heart with that, and she would use that against my mother for real. So this is when you start to see the dynamic come into play. So I remember when I went over there, my dad had bought us all the little small rubber bouncy balls. He bought us all small little rubber bouncy balls.
Little jackets with.
They was a little bit bigger though. Just slightly bigger. It was ones you get out the gumball machines. Yeah.
Twist.
So he had bought all of them, all of us them, and him and Dee Dee was in the room, whatever, and I was in the room with Tina, and we was bouncing the balls against the wall, and I remember she didn't want me to stop playing with her, but I had to go to the bathroom. So I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. She was like, no, just play with me a little longer. And I was like, girl, I gotta go to the bathroom. And she was like, no. And I'm looking at her like, I'm going to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom. This girl slams the door, turns off the lights in the room, and she starts screaming. I get done using the bathroom. My dad is about ready to choke me when I get out the bathroom. And I don't know what the heck just happened. I'm looking at like, what? He was like, Tina, and that's all I'm hearing. I'm pretty sure he's saying words, but all I hear is I'm like, because I'm trying to figure out what just happened. Yeah. And he's angry. He huffed up. I'm like, what are you talking about? He was like, Tina just said that you was hitting on her. She said, I hit her, locked her in the room, turned off the lights, and left. Y'all, I started to experience what my sister was talking about. Them babies was lying. I was like, what? I said we was just playing a little bouncy ball. That's it. I was like, I did not touch her. I had to get in the corner, y'all. My dad made me get in the corner. I didn't do nothing to this girl. But you know what?
I would beat her up.
Hold on, stop! Because I told y'all, I used to be wrathful. God has delivered me from that. But guess what? I said, okay, she said I beat her up. We about to make that the truth. Wait till I get out this corner. Wait till I get out this corner. So serious. I got out the corner. I did beat her up, y'all. I sure did. I said, oh. Blah, blah, blah. She looking at me like, eh. Now I can get in trouble. I got my butt whooped after that, but I didn't care. I said, that's what you get for lying on me. I didn't do nothing to you. Well, now I did. And because my dad I don't know what it was, but my dad never believed his own children. He always believed them over us. Y'all, other people's kids can say anything about his own children, and he would immediately, yes, you did. You did it. Like, it's almost like he just felt like we were evil. And I think that was his own demons. And you know how they say your children are a reflection of you. So because my dad saw himself as demonic, he then saw us as demonic. So he knew he was a liar, because my dad was a habitual liar. Yeah, he lied about a lot. He knew he was a liar. He knew he was a manipulator. He knew these things about himself. So he projected that onto us. You the same way. Yes, you did do that. You did. And half the stuff we got whooped, I promise, God is my witness, which is partially why I think he's having me tell y'all this testimony. Half the stuff we got spanked for that people said we did, we didn't. We never did. It never happened. It wasn't us. But we got in trouble for it. But these kids would do this stuff a lot. Like one time, Tina was getting water. Or not Tina, my sister was getting some ice. You know, she's taller. So Tina comes in the kitchen and she's like, can I have some? She said, they used to say thirsty. You know, I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. Can I have some water? And my sister said no. Or she would be, and then she was like, I'm thirsty. I want some water. And my sister was like, Okay, just hold on real quick. You know, because my sister washing the cups and stuff. So my sister started washing the cup out so she can get ready to give Tina some water. She opened up the freezer and she's about to put some ice in there.
Oh no, I'm sorry. You just made me have a flashback of my little cousin. My little cousin Kanitra couldn't talk. You know how the front teeth was gone? She was like 5, maybe 6. And she used to always say everything with an F. But one time she actually fell down the stairs. She was like, a fron, a bifis. I'm coming downstairs to mess with fall. And then she went down the stairs and started tumbling down the stairs and smacked the ceiling floor. I promise you. She said, "Ah!" My grandma said, what the hell is that? My grandma was like, what was that noise? I was like, that's because she fell downstairs. I picked up, that's my baby. I ran, picked her up. But when I took her upstairs, my grandma and grandpa, they was like, what happened? And I told her what happened, bro. They both looked up in the sky like they imagined her falling down the stairs. I was like, oh, y'all is so wrong. But it's like, come here, baby. Come here. I'm sorry, but go ahead. That just made me think about that. When you was talking about the way she was talking. I'm thirsty.
Yeah, thirsty. Yeah, they used to say thirsty. But she's like, I'm just thirsty. My sister cleared the cup, you know, she's going to get the ice. And then she starts screaming. And she starts screaming. And she run upstairs and tell my dad that my sister wouldn't give her any water. And that she took the cup from her. My sister was trying to clean the cup out so she could give her some ice to put in her water. And my sister got in a bunch of trouble. He threw her to the ground. He whooped her. Like, I'm trying to tell y'all, we went through HE double hockey sticks when he got with that woman. It was 10 times worse. It was bad enough when he wasn't with her. He got with her. And I mean, it was bad before. I remember my youngest sister's mom, so Christian's mom, her name was Erica. And I remember she was abusive too. And she got abusive towards me one time. Me and my sister had to stand in the corner, and we was in the corner. But y'all know we kids, so sometimes we turn around and laugh. We turn around, we laugh. But I was in the corner that they could see. So when she poked her head out, she saw me turn around. My sister was turned around too, but my sister had time to turn back because she had to come around the corner. She saw me and got mad, y'all. She picked me up by my shirt all the way up to the ceiling and then let go. And I just splat. Fell straight onto the kitchen floor. But I can't tell you, I had a mama that didn't play. I told my mama that happened. Boy, she was about ready to rip her wig off. And she made sure she let my dad know. She said, don't you ever have none of your girlfriends put their hands on my daughter again. Because she was about
cause chaos pretty much.
Yeah, my mama was about to hurt Erica. She was like, oh, that woman about to get hurt. She better not ever touch my daughter again. So, you know. So I'm just saying, like, we already had it bad. Imagine that times 10. Like, it was worse. So, and these kids kept lying on us. And every time they lied, I would make it the truth. Because I was going to get in trouble anyway. So whenever Tina was like, I'm telling that you hit me. She hit me. And now I did hit you. I'm like, because I was going to get in trouble anyway. I might as well do it. That was my mindset. I might as well do it. You already gonna lie on me for doing it anyway. So we grew up that way, and my sister had it the worst. It was only a few times where my sister felt like she had gotten justice, but my sister, I kid y'all not, she started to have an anger in her heart. I saw it. I saw the change in her start to happen. Remember, she was quiet, remember? She was shy. She didn't really stand up for herself. She was muted. That started to change. My dad would actually, my sister was like a mom figure. My dad put everything on her. We woke up. He didn't make us breakfast. Dee didn't make us breakfast. He made her do it. When it came to clean the house, her and Gabby, go clean the house, wash the dishes, keep everything clean, keep us in line. Like, he placed a lot of that responsibility on my oldest sister. He wasn't really... Yeah, we see him as the dad, but I'm going to be real. My sister was raising us for real. When it came to doing our hair, now Dee did do our hair. However, when she didn't feel like doing it, my sister was doing our hair. When it came to giving baths, all of that stuff, it was on my sister a lot of the time. Now, Dee did make us dinner too, but a lot of times he would just tell Ray to go make us something quick, you know. So she was And she, you know what? She used to call herself Cinderella, and she was like, I was Cinderella, and she was Cinderella. She had evil stepsisters, you know, and then I would be Cinderella part two when I got over there, because then it was temporary, but I got it when I was there. And then that dynamic lasted. Okay, so I remember I was 7 or 8 when they met. They got married. They got married. By the time I want to say I was 9, 10 years old, Dee Dee left my dad. My dad lost his mind. He did. He lost his mind. But he was nicer. Like, Dee Dee left him. And I remember we moved in with my Uncle M at the time. It was either my Uncle M's spot or my Uncle J's spot. I don't remember which one, but it was one of them. And y'all, we lived in Witten. What was it? Witten Terrace?
Witten Terrace?
It wasn't Witten Woods. I think it was Witten Terrace. Mm-hmm. It was Witten Terrace. And I'm not gonna lie, that first time we was out there, I was about 10 years old. I loved it. We loved it. We had fun. We'll go outside. We'll play. It felt different because we didn't have our 3 stepsisters. But the energy was so much more calm. I promise you, it was so much more calm. Like, my dad wasn't as evil as he was when he was with that woman, because he was evil when he was with her. He already had worse. I didn't think worse could get worse. She brought worse, the worsters out of him. Like, it was horrible. So
I think, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I just think overall, because from my situation, my mom was worse. Like you were saying with your sister, my mom was worse on my big brother. Like, he had it way worse than I did. He used to run away all the time. This is why we still in Saginaw, Michigan. This before we went to Dallas. But I'm picking back off on what you were saying, because when we moved to Dallas, it got way smoother once we got around my aunts. You know what I'm saying? Aunt Tanya, Aunt Mel, Aunt Robin, and Aunt Dawn. You know, it's other family around and stuff like that. So the abuse wasn't there no more, because we was always around. So we was always at one of their houses. You know what I'm saying? And we all lived like in different apartment complexes, but it was all in the same area. So we was always around, you know what I'm saying? We was always around family, you know? So that's why I just want to piggyback and say, like I said, my brother had it worse than me. And it got worse when we first moved to Dallas, but then when we went around family and stuff, and apartment complex and stuff, you know, it wasn't all that bad at all, because we was around other people. But I was saying like that because maybe when he was with her, you know what I'm saying, he was trying to please her so much, so anything that her or her kid said, he like, oh, I'm believing it off rip, you know what I'm saying? That's why I said that. So now he's away from that thing. Now he has a safe place within his heart. So he like, oh, okay, now I could be a little bit nice because I ain't got to please her because she done left me. That's why I was saying that.
Yeah, I ain't like her either. I told Dee Dee I ain't like her to her face. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to tell you, I was that kid. But she'll look at me and she'll be like, hey, you need to. And I was like, I don't like you. But she don't realize I didn't like her because I seen what she was doing to my father. I'm like, he's worse now that he's with you. When you with, and I don't know how I knew to the kid, but I was like, when you're supposed to be with somebody, they're supposed to make you better. They supposed to make you happier. They supposed to make, he's angry all the time. Like, he mad all the time. Like, what are you doing to him? You're evil. Like, that's how I feel. So she didn't understand why I didn't like her because you made it worse for us. Like, it was terrible. So I didn't like her. So anyway, we in Witten Terrace, y'all. Those were the times of our life. My dad ended up getting his own spot. They ended up doing some renovations in Witten Terrace. And y'all remember the ice cream truck? Y'all, we love the ice cream truck, man. We loved the ice cream truck. We used to always find little change and stuff around, and we would go to the ice cream truck, and we would we would always get a hot pickle and some hot chips and stick it in the hot pickle.
See, I wanted the Bugs Bunny one.
The Bugs
Bunny ice cream.
I'm like, that was our junk. But even when it came to Burger, he was a lot nicer because he was so mean. Ooh, Burger's time. He was mean to Burger, but I'm about to tell you, I said it got worse. So hold on. So My dad was in Wind Terrace. That's when he met lovely, lovely Bridget. Oh, Bridget was a God bless you. She was so nice. Her energy. That's why I said kids can tell, y'all. They can see spirits on people. Bridget's energy was beautiful. We liked her off rip. You hear me? Off rip. She was our favorite. Mommy! That's my stepmama right there. I didn't have an issue calling her my stepmama. Yeah, daddy, this the one you need to marry. She's good. Like, we could tell. We sensed the difference. We love this woman. Now, my dad was still mean at times. Don't get me wrong. He was still unreasonable with some of his punishment and tactic. I think, like I said, that was just my dad's nature. And he had a lot of demons he was battling. He didn't really know nothing else but discipline. That's how I felt a lot of the times. But she made it lighten, you know. And she said she even noticed certain things. She was like, I remember one time she asked my dad, she said, how come you always talking about Dee Dee's kids, but you don't talk about your own kids like that? She said that my dad would always be like, yeah, and Tina was the prettiest out of all of them. Yeah, she was so pretty. Yeah, you know, and Gabby was this, and Divine, boy, she had that pretty hair, and da-da-da-da. And Bridget said she looked at my dad, and she like, you don't see that stuff in your own daughter? She said, Ray and Tay are very beautiful. And she said, and they also have good hair. She said, look at Tay's hair. She said, people are always asking her, you know, or asking Shauna, like, so she was like, you don't see the beauty and the likeness in your own children. Now, Bridget did say she saw it as a red flag. Like, why? It's like you're like I said, my dad demonized us in a way. He demonized us, or he made us less than in his heart. Like, oh, you guys are less than because you come. I think it was simply because we came from him. Simply because we came from him. You're less than, right? So, she said he would always talk about them. My dad moved further down Winton Terrace, had his own spot, whatever. We still loved it. It was a great time. Until one time I went over to my dad's house, and guess who I saw? Gabby, Tina, and Divine. No! This woman done came back. She came back, y'all. Not long after, I kid y'all not, though that thing we thought we escaped, it came back. It came back. We started getting in trouble for everything again. We getting in trouble for everything again. We getting our butts whooped for everything again. Now, they weren't lying on us before. Like, this time they wasn't lying on us like they did before. But it didn't matter. My dad was just angry all the time. He was just aggressive all the time. Like, I'm like, she put a hex on my father. She must, I'm not even joking. Like, it was something wrong with her. Those two were not made in heaven. Like, they shouldn't have gotten married because they were not for real. Like, they were not supposed to. Y'all should have never got married. If y'all ever watched this video, you shouldn't have got married, okay? Y'all put all the kids through terribleness. I mean, that's what it means. When we grow up seeing toxic relationships, we grew up seeing a toxic marriage. It was not healthy. So they move into this house. They move in. That's when they started living in North College Hill. Had some great memories in North College Hill. But mind you, with each year, my sister, I'm starting to see layers of her being pulled back. And I'm starting to see them pull back towards me. Meaning now when my sister comes to my mom's house, my sister is purposely getting me in trouble so that my mom can get on me and she can laugh about it. At first, I used to think it was funny because my mom, I guess, maybe had some sort of guilt from how she was when she was little. And, you know, the fact that she lost custody of her. My mom did always have an issue with not having custody of all three of her children. She battled that, and you could see. But my mom, whenever my sister would come over, she acted different. So mind you, me and my sister are close. And when I say close, we're actually really goofy together. We make silly faces together. We got little jokes. We make little noises together. You know what I'm saying? We got our inside jokes and stuff like that. And we talk about other stuff too. But you know, we real close. And my mom wanted to be a part of that. But whenever my mom would try, she was trying too hard, I'll be honest. And a lot of times we would look at my mom like, just be the mother. Like, not even trying to be mean, but like, just be the mom. Like, you don't have to fit in with us, you know. And it got to a point to where it would be times, or even I would go to my dad's house, my sister would get in trouble. Like, we used to hold secrets for each other. Now, not all the time. There were a few secrets that I told that got my sister in a whole lot of trouble. And because I would tell so much, her and my brother did not like me. They'd be like, oh, snitch. Like, I'm a, you know. And I'd be like, so? And you hit me, I'm a snitch on that too. Like, that was me. I had that time. I was so serious. They couldn't stand me for that. They was like, man, you always snitching. But I did cover for them too. I covered for them a lot too. But I did tell too. You know, I did. And my sister, she didn't like that, because she was like, you always get me in trouble with Daddy more because you tell, and you know how he is. Now, granted, when she would say that, it didn't, I'm a kid, you know. A lot of times it didn't register, and I wasn't going through it as hard as she was. I went through it enough, though, to where I was still getting questioned by teachers and stuff. I was coming home with bruises on my legs and my arms, and, you know, having to lie about where they was coming from. But that started to cause a lot of strain. I used to write my sister from the time I was in the 1st grade to 3rd grade. I used to write my sister notes and hand them to her when I went to my dad's house. And I used to cry so hard because I wanted my sister to live with us. By the time I was 10, I got over it. And I quit doing that. And I quit doing that because this is when I kind of started to see her change just a little bit. And then by the time Dee Dee came back in the picture, my sister, it was over. Because at this point, she's a teenager, right? So, you know, she started getting in a whole lot of trouble. You know, she started liking boys. Boys started liking her, whatever. This is when Gabby started getting into boys and stuff like that, too. And I remember when they moved into, I forgot what street that was. It used to be across. It was a school called Becker or something like that. It used to be across the street. That got demolished, and then they built. And I remember they had the old North College Hill School. They ended up tearing all that down and building like one big high school and then one elementary school. We ended up moving after they tore that. It was wherever that street is on, like right when you walk out of Becker Elementary, that whatever street that was on. We used to live in a house right there. After that, we moved, and we were still in North College Hill though, and they moved into this house. And this is when you kind of seen their relationship strain a lot. Like Dee Dee and my dad were not getting along. There were rumors of Dee Dee cheating on my dad with another woman. My sister, you know, like I said, she started liking boys. Boys started liking her. She started one summer. It was actually a really fun summer, y'all. We was kind of around a lot of boys. I ain't know how. We had fun though. I was 12. Gabby was 13. My sister was 14, getting ready to turn 15. I was 12, getting ready to turn 13 because our birthday was in the summer. Yeah. So my sister had one of her biggest crushes. We had spent like all summer with him or whatever. And I don't know if I should go into all that detail about what happened that summer. Let's just say it was fun, but a lot of stuff happened that shouldn't have. Okay. I'll tell y'all this story. One summer I was 11. And my sister had a friend that was about 17, so much older than us, right? And my dad told my sister, okay, you can go, but Gabby and Tay can go with you. All right, cool. So that means the younger ones, Tina, Devine, and my sister Christian, stayed with my dad, and we went to this party. We walked to this girl's house. We went to this party. And, you know, the party's in the basement of the house. It's dark, lights off, and you just hear, you know, everybody, you see people turning up. Now, mind you, I'm 11 years old in a room full of teenagers. I'm talking about 16, 17-year-olds. I shouldn't be, but I was there. And so, me and Gabby was just standing there like this. At first, Ray was over there, you know, like I said, I started to see my sister change. She was over there, you know, she popping it, she, you know, doing her thing, whatever. I didn't want to be there. This is when I realized I couldn't be around large crowds. I don't know, this is before I knew that I was an empath, but This was the first time I had experienced being around a large crowd, and I felt a bunch of energy. Like, it felt like all this energy was just sifting through me, and I couldn't take it. I was literally standing down there like, I can't take this. This is too many people in here. Like, I gotta get out. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, I need to leave. Like, it felt like, I kid you not, like energy was just flowing through me, and it was too much energy. Like, I felt every person's aura up in there at one time. That's how it felt. And I was like, okay, I gotta get out of there. I can't stay in here, you know? So I walked up the stairs and I walked outside just to breathe. I was like, I need to breathe. Like, and my sister followed me, and I didn't like what was going on anyway. So my sister followed me, and she was like, what's going on? Like, I was like, look. Oh. And the girl had told my sister, like, okay, well, they gotta twerk or they gotta go home. What? She was like, they gotta twerk or they gotta go home. They gotta find the guy, they gotta twerk on them, or they gotta go home. Because my sister came and found me, and I'm like, well, we gotta twerk or we gotta go home. Gabby had went with somebody. And so Gabby just went on with somebody. I guess she was learning how to twerk on him, whatever. I was like, we gotta twerk or we gotta go. She was like, yeah, Tay said she said you gotta twerk or go home. I said, I'll go home. I walked all the way home. Just my luck. This is the enemy. This was the devil. I walked all the way home. The door was locked and my dad was gone. Bruh, yes. Enemy. You hear me? I was like, and I was like, dang. So I walked back to the house. My sister was right there, and I said, he's not home. He's not home. So went back downstairs. And she's like, well, you're still gonna twerk on somebody. And she's like, Tay, she started amping me up to do it. Tay, it's fun. It's really not that bad. Boo. It's fun. You just gotta do. You know, just do this. And I was like, all right, fine. So it was this boy named Jay. Some of y'all know him because y'all probably went to school with him. He had a mole like right here on his face. His name was Jay. Oh, Jesus. I know. He took me over to the very back in the basement of the wall. And y'all, I started learning how to twerk. My sister had a guy next to her, and she was twerking on him. And I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm looking over at my sister, seeing how she's moving, because I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm like, okay, you know, and she dipped down. So I start getting the hang of it. Like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing. I start getting excited because I know what I'm doing now. And then she started, so, you know what I'm saying? I started getting into it. It was fun. Should have been fun, but it was fun at the time. I was having fun. And then, I think his name was Rob, my sister's best friend at the time. They weren't best friends at that time, but I met him at this party. I was a lot of underage people who shouldn't have been there. But Rob, I started twerking on him and I didn't want to because he had his pants halfway down. I was like, get off of me, you know? And Gabby was like, I know, he did the same thing to me. And after the party was over, my dad was like, okay, I gotta come home. We were so amped up, like, yes, that was so much fun. Like, yeah, that was twerking. She's like, yeah, I was twerking too. I was twerking. We over here talking about it, like, yeah, and then we all get quiet when we get in the house because obviously we can't talk. Yeah, Dad, I'm 11 years. I twerked on a teenager. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah. So we all was quiet when we got in the house, but we had fun, right? And that's kind of where it started with my sister with boys. Okay. Where she really started to get into it. Now, my dad and Dee's relationship got strained. He found out because she became a cop, a police officer, and he had found out that she cheated on him with another woman. And turns out it was she had a high school sweetheart that was a woman. So her family knew that she was a lesbian of sorts. And they never told my dad this. They never shared this with my dad. My dad was angry about that. He said, y'all never, nobody in this family told me that she liked women too. Not one of y'all. So I didn't even know this was something to look out for. Now, I bring this up because I don't know if my last video, I told you I used to do sexual things with my stepsisters. Their mom was a lesbian. You see what I'm saying? The spirit of lust. It sneaks.
Lord,
Yes. It
passed
passed through in different ways. Yes. So I'm like, be careful. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes if the sins don't fall on you, sometimes the children pay for those sins. And those spirits can pass on. So, yeah. And I remember I said that. I was like, wait, so Dee Dee whooped her daughters and whooped me because they found out we was doing this stuff. Y'all, we got in a lot of trouble. So I was like, she whooped her daughters and whooped me for doing this stuff. I mean, obviously we were underage doing it. We shouldn't have been doing it anyway. And I was like, but yet she's in love with other women. You know, I remember I said that. She does.
Yeah,
I remember I was like, that don't make sense. But they broke up again. I was 13. I was 13 years old. And no, it's not nothing bad. It's just eerie. My dad was getting ready to move out of the house. He was trying to find places. I remember he left me and my sister, because Dee Dee and her kids were gone. And my dad let me know, like, yeah, so we won't be together anymore. This is it. Granted, I ain't gonna lie, I wasn't sad. My sister wasn't sad either. That's when you know when two people break up and the kids ain't sad. Pay attention to that. Okay, we were not sad, okay? So, my sister had called, his name was Darrell. People called him Dinka. She called him over to this house, to my dad's house. And, you know, I'm 13, so she's about 15. She's 15. And we talking, laughing, whatever. And I'm like, okay. And then my sister and Darrell, he said he had something upstairs, but they go upstairs to her room. And I'm sitting on the stairs. And I went into the living room. I sat in the living room. I was on my phone for a little bit. I had my phone. I was on my phone for a little bit. And, that is my baby boy bouncing. He does this.
Right, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. It's him bouncing in his crib. Okay, I'll take care. Okay, mama.
Go ahead, I ain't gonna pause it. You can keep going.
Okay, so they went upstairs and I'm on my phone for a little bit. And then I end up being like, okay, they a little too quiet. So I'm like, I go up to the stairs and I'm like, because my mom, we were supposed to go to our mom's house. I live with my mom, but my sister was supposed to come with me. And I was like, y'all good? She was like, yeah, we're good. I'm like, so I think mama's outside, or I think that's daddy. I think they outside. She was like, okay, it's cool. Yeah. And I was like, do y'all want me to come upstairs? They both was like, no, stay downstairs. No, stay downstairs. I was like, at this point, you know, I'm not slow. I was like, so I'm like, I started creeping my way up the steps anyway. Yeah, I did. I started creeping my way up the stairs anyway. And I opened the door. The door wasn't really all that shut. It was kind of like half open, half, you know, it wasn't like fully shut. I go in the room. The lights are off, thank God. And he was on top of my sister. Now, when I walk in the room, he gets up. And I look at my sister. I look at Darrell. And I look at my sister. And I look at Darrell. They both looking at me. And we just standing there, like, in silence for a little bit. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I feel disappointed in my sister. Maybe it's because my mom always told me to keep our virtue. And around this time, I was very strict with myself because my mom was very strict with me, you know, with boys and my body and sex and all that stuff. So I was like, looking at them. And I felt disappointed, but I felt awkward, and I didn't know what else to do. So he was like, Darrell was like, well, this is awkward. And so I go up to my sister and say, oh, I'm so happy and proud of you. I actually had tears in my eyes. And I gave her a hug. Oh my gosh, I think I'm about to get emotional because I remember how I felt. Y'all, I felt it. I told y'all I'm really good with energy and stuff. I knew for some reason I felt like something my sister had been taking. And it wasn't just her virtue. And I remember I gave her a hug. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. It was one of those, you know, when you hug and then you see the other person's face and they stop smiling. That was me. Like, so I smiled when I gave her a hug, but as I was hugging her, yeah, I stopped smiling. I was just sitting there hugging her like, I can't explain to y'all the feeling I felt. And I let go and I walked out the room. I had tears in my eyes. I was just like, and that moment happened, you know, he ended up leaving. And, you know, she ended up telling me about her experience and stuff like that. But I can say from that point, even though me and my sister were still close, like I said, each year you start to see something different. My sister was being mean to me around the time, too. Even when him and Dee Dee were still together, she would be mean to me. But she felt like it's because I knew everything, right? So I remember one time I saw her texting a boy on her phone. They were texting, so they shouldn't have been texting. And I was like, Ray, why are you doing that? Like, you know he don't even like you for this. I'm just telling her this because my mom had already talked to us about this stuff. And to be honest, my mama was not wrong. And I was like, she literally just talked to us about this stuff. Like, you know, my sister got mad. She got mad, and sometimes she would start hemming me up. One time she choked me down on the couch because me and her started. She would push me, I would push her back, and she wanted me to know that she could beat me up. She wanted me to know I can dominate over you. But I was never scared of my sister though. But that's what she wanted me to know. I can dominate you, so you need to watch yourself. You see how much of a change that is from, you know what I'm saying? And she was in sports. A lot of people knew her for running track and playing volleyball. And then she eventually joined the girls' basketball team. I was always proud of my sister. She would teach me certain stuff. We learned a lot, even after they broke up. He lived on Lincoln after that. And this is when I started getting told that my sister was jealous of me.
Yeah, okay.
That's when I started to get told that. I was about 14 now. And when I was 14, that's when I had met my friend X at the time. And he was such an amazing person. And I remember my sister looked at me one time and she was like, I was like, what? She was like, you always meeting good people. It's because he's screaming. Sorry about that, guys. You know. Right. But that's when I started getting told that my sister was jealous of me. And she was like, you always meet good people. Because this is when I had first started meeting my own group of friends. Now, I had a best friend from the time from 2nd grade into the 6th grade. Her name was Taylor. Me and her was best friends. We loved each other so much. We would go bike riding, tell each other stories. Like, she was my legit best friend. We did everything together. My sister knew who Taylor was, and there was even a time that Taylor stayed with us while her mom was on a vacation, like a 2-week cruise or something like that. We were sisters, right? My sister knew that. And then Taylor didn't like my sister. They didn't like each other. I always knew that every time I had a friend, they never liked my sister, and my sister didn't really care for them either. Paid attention to that, but I didn't really question anything. And my mom would always get on me about not being like my sister. She would tell me that. She'd be like, I don't want you to be like your sister. Especially after she found out she lost her virginity. She's like, I don't want you to be like your sister. And I was like, but I'm not. Like, and I would get defensive. Yeah, I started defending my sister. Like, I don't know what y'all talking about. Like, I'm not like quit making it like she's just this bad person. My mother saw something in my sister, and she treated my sister according. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to listen. Later on, I started to see the same thing. My mama was not lying. But I didn't want to listen to my mom when she would tell me, your sister is out to get you. I don't want you like your sister, okay? It's like she's like, your sister burns bridges. That's what she kept saying to my dad. What she kept saying to me, she said she burns bridges. She likes to sympathize. She likes to gain sympathy. This is when she started to tell other people her story about how she was abused and this, that, and the third. Because by this time, my dad had quit putting his hands on us. Well, there was one more time he did it to me when I was 17. But for the most part, he quit putting his hands on us. Last whooping I had gotten from him was when I was 11. So, and that was that story I told y'all with the shelves. So, yeah. So and last whooping she got from my father was when she was 15. So, she felt like she lost a lot of friends because of him. Because they would look at my father and see how the type of person he was, and they'd be like, and also a lot of her friends and mine had crushes on our dad. It was disgusting. They had crushes. They did. They were like, y'all daddy fine. We'd be like, shut up. We don't want to hear about our own dad. Like, y'all nasty. And then he would bring a whole bunch, when he wasn't with Dee Dee, and before he met Dee Dee, he would bring a whole bunch of women around us. And then out the house, we would hear them sleeping together. Y'all kids, y'all know, Sundays, I was 13. It was a Sunday we were supposed to get ready to go to church. They had Marvin Sapp playing while sleeping together. I'm so serious. While sleeping together, they had gospel music playing. I'm so serious. And then after they finished, it was okay. Come on, it's time for us to go to church. And one time we heard it. It was different women, in and out, different women. One time I got so mad because me and my sister was trying to go to sleep. We heard it. I took a shoe and threw it at the wall. I got so mad because I was like, I'm tired. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, I thought we was getting too old. But I thought we was getting too old. I'm like, all right. So, y'all, into adulthood, we lost our mom. I was 16. Sister was 18. I have to think about it, sorry. But, you know, I started hearing back to back, like, so my friend X would tell me, my friend Taylor would tell me, my brother would tell me, Bridget told me, my mom told me, my dad told me, all of them was like, your sister is jealous of you. This is when I started to hear that back to back. No, and I would defend her to the T about who she was, her character, her love, this, that, and the third, how she was such an amazing sister, how me and her was always going to be close, because I wanted that. I wanted my sister to be my best friend. I didn't know that she had a secret hatred for me in her heart, or a secret dislike for me in her heart. I found that at the older we got, I started to see it. So we too busy going against my father at this point. My mom passes away. We too busy going against my father at this point because he doesn't put his hands on us anymore, but you know, he's still.
Yeah, man.
Yes. So him and my sister getting into it all the time now. She 18, I'm 16. They getting into it all the time now. She goes off to college at NKU. And I remember she had a boyfriend named Romel. And they were together for a little bit, but they ended up breaking up. My sister never wanted to tell me why they broke up. She never wanted to tell me. I was just like, okay. So I respected that. I found out later it's because she cheated on him with one of her exes, Darrell. Because her and Darrell didn't make it. Like, she said Darrell would call her weird, and she was seen as the weird girl, and the girl didn't have any clothes or that smelled funny, at least her freshman year. By the time my sister was a senior, she was known as that girl. She went from that girl to that girl. You know what I'm saying? She was in sports. She had a beautiful body. Every dude wanted her. Like, you see that transition. But y'all, that person she became, that girl, that was her narcissistic mask. She got tired of being victimized. She got tired of being rejected. She got tired of being treated like trash. She got tired of people telling her she wasn't pretty or good enough. My sister learned how to do hair. She learned how she was bomb with the hair. She knew how to do braids. She knew how to flat iron. She knew how to do. She made her own wigs, and she was doing it up. You know what I'm saying? She knew how to dress out with the outfits and stuff. She became something of herself in school. So she went from freshman year, that girl, to by her senior year, the other year, she was that girl. Every dude wanted her. Like, and unfortunately, after she graduated high school, because she graduated, my mama didn't even get to see my sister graduate. She graduated high school. That broke my sister's heart. And my sister, this is where I started to see the difference. My sister, after my mom died, my sister was sitting there one day and she was like, I never got to have the relationship with mama that I always wanted. Mind you, I'm used to my sister being disrespectful towards my mom. I'm used to my sister like being rude to her and like punishing her for things that happened in the past, right? But my sister wanted, me and my mom were best friends. We were close. We were like this. Like, I would go exercising with my mom. I was that daughter that always slept in my mama's bed. I did. I was crawled up in there, man. I ain't care. I slept in my mama's bed till she died. I don't care what y'all talk about. Like, I was in my mama's bed. We would sit up. We would watch Lion King 1.5 together. And yeah, she was my best friend. On Super Bowl Sunday, we would make homemade ice cream. We just watched it for the commercials. We didn't even watch it for the game. We watched it for the commercials because back then they had good commercials. Mm-hmm. So, my mom was my best friend. She was my absolute best friend. I loved her. She was a good mom. Yeah, she had her faults and her flaws or whatever, but she was great, you know? And I remember my sister was like, she was jealous. That's what she was really jealous of. She didn't like the fact that I had the relationship with my mother that she always wanted. She did not like that, and she was in competition with that. That's why when she came over, she made it a point to where my mom would switch up on me. My sister would get in trouble for stuff she would do too. My mom would be meaner to me when my sister was around. I didn't like it. So my brother noticed too. My older brother noticed, and he would stay gone. So I remember she told me that. She was like, after her mom died, she was like, you always had the relationship with her that I wanted though. You was her best friend. I didn't see those sides of mama. I didn't get to see those sides of mama. And I'm looking at her because I know my mom loved her. But I told y'all, my mom saw something in my sister. She was very discerning. She saw something in my sister. And she was like, yeah, like I just don't, like, and she would look at me like, and then she was like, or like with dad, like, because of my dad, I was that kid that when my parents came home, when my dad would come home from work, when he would come home from work, I greeted him at the door. Hey, Dad. How's your day? How you doing? You have a good day? Excuse me. A lot of times I would get up and go in the room with him and sit down, talk to him, ask him how his day went. That was just naturally who I was. I would play with my dad. I'd be like, what? Hit him with a pillow. He hit me with a pillow. We laughing. I would lay down and watch movies with my dad. We would watch In Living Color. I remember seeing him. Yeah. I remember seeing him when Dee Dee had left him after they broke up the second time and he lived in Lincoln. I remember seeing my dad's pain and feeling it. He was, reach out to me. That song by Dave Hollister, reach out to me. He played that song back to back and he would literally be rocking back and forth in his computer chair, just holding himself, y'all. And sometimes I would give my dad a hug. Because even if he was a monster to me, I still loved him, you know? And I just seen him as, I didn't see him as a monster per se. I just seen him as he just needs help. I'm so serious. I seen my father as, you just need somebody to love you. That's what you need. You need to be loved. That's how I felt. So, I'm like, I would hug him. I would spend time with him. You know, I wanted to do things to make my dad happy because I felt like he needed it. Mm-hmm. So, my sister was the complete opposite. She'll be in her room all day listening to her music, or she'll go out with her friends, or and so they didn't get along. My sister started to turn into my dad. And I remember, y'all, after my mom passed, all 3 of her kids got a lot, because God wanted me to mention this. I wasn't going to, I promise you I wasn't, but okay. So, after my mom died, we all got a large lump sum of money. Now, this didn't help. My mom had it split up in different ways. She actually gave me the largest amount of money. My oldest brother, the second largest amount of money, and my sister, the least amount of money. I remember driving in the car with her, and my mom was quiet. She looked over at me. She said, I can't even believe I'm about to say this. Because I remember my mom talking about this, why she did it. She said, I feel like you are more responsible than your brother and sister are. Out of all 3 of my kids, she said, I feel like you are the most responsible. She said, I'm going to give you the most. I didn't know what she was talking about at the time, but she did tell me that. She said, I'm going to give you the most. You are more responsible, the most trustworthy. She said, you have shown up for me the most in this entire thing. Because that'll be another story when mom got sick and what happened with all that. I'll tell y'all about all of that. That's a whole nother story within itself, but it lasted over a year. But that'll be another story. But she was like, yeah, so she's like, I can't believe I'm saying this. So I knew, you know, at the time I didn't know what she was talking about, but I found out that's what she was talking about. That made it worse. Y'all, it made it worse. Mama, why? I love you. But that made it worse. I can laugh about it now. It wasn't funny back then, though. I can laugh about it now. It was not funny back then. So, mind you, I'm still a teenager. So I get the largest lump sum of money. My mom made it to where nobody could touch that money. Only me when I turned 18. My dad tried to get a hold of that money. He jumped through hoops, was taking me back and forth downtown, trying to get me to sign papers, all this stuff. They were like, the mom had this sealed tight because she knew that my father was going to try to get a hold of that money. She knew. She made sure. No, and then my grandma on my mama's side said she made a call and was like, do not let that man touch that money. And they blocked my father from even being able to access any of it. Not to mention, my dad was taking my Social Security checks. So each of us got Social Security checks. And I remember we all wanted to go to Fear Fest at Kings Island. Because, you know, Kings Island typically has its Fear Fest, and then they shut down shortly after. So it was having Fear Fest, and we really wanted to go. We ain't had no money. And my dad was, I don't know how he was doing it, but he was having stacks of money, and he had a stack of money sitting on the microwave. This is one of the reasons why my dad didn't like my sister, because she knew all his skeletons. She knew him through and through because she was raised by him. So she knew when he was lying, which was a lot. She knew everything, right? I didn't. And she was trying to put me on game. She was trying to put me on game to how my father really was, because I'm just now living with him because my mom passed away. So I remember we went into their room and we was like, Dad, can we have some money for Fear Fest? And he was like, I can give y'all some of this. You know what my sister said? She looked at me. She said, Tay, have you received any of your Social Security checks? She said, because I done gotten at least 2 of mine. So where are yours at? Because I know you're supposed to be getting them. And my dad's face was like, and I was like, no, I haven't. She was like, I'm pretty positive Tay's supposed to have gotten Social Security checks until we were supposed to get them until we graduated high school. She was like, or until we turned 18, one of the two, I don't remember. But she was like, I'm pretty positive that's your money sitting on that microwave. Why did my dad take that whole scoop of money and give it to me? Because it was mine. My dad was taking my mail and he was opening it up before I got the chance to get to it, and he would go to the bank and cash my checks because I was a minor at the time, so I couldn't have my own bank account. So he was cashing my checks. So I was like, oh. And then my dad at that point, because see, my sister exposed him. Shortly after that, my sister actually got kicked out the house. Kid y'all not. She got kicked out the house. He made a fuss and he kicked her out because she was 18. She had already graduated high school. So he kicked her out the house. But yeah, he was doing that. So I started making, she said, Tay, just make sure you keep your mail, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. I was like, okay. So I did, you know, and my dad, I had to go do a joint account with my dad because, again, I was a minor. I wasn't allowed to have my own bank account. So I had to put his name on it, but I still had full access to it. So yeah, my dad made me buy my own cell phone that time too. When I got my Social Security checks, he made me get my own cell phone, pay my own cell phone bill. Yeah.
He was sorry, you know. He like, man, here you go.
Yep. I had to start buying my own feminine care too. Like, you know, women, girls, you know what we need. I had to start buying my own feminine products and all that stuff too. So, my sister said she wasn't going to graduate because my dad didn't pay for her cap and gown. And she had a lot of school fees, and her teachers ended up paying for it. There was times she didn't have lunches. My dad didn't have money for her for lunch. He wasn't paying for her for lunch, and a lot of times the teachers did. Now I'm about to tell y'all this because I'm about to start going to the school she's going to, right? North College Hill. She already graduated. So I remember that first day I went there, one of the teachers, I went and sat down, and she grabbed my shoulder, I'm like, and she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you was a student that just graduated from here." And I was like, "Krishanda." And she was like, "Oh, you know her?" And I was like, "That's my older sister." They was like, y'all, I kid y'all not, it spread like telephone. Everybody, "Krishanda got a sister. Krishanda got a sister. They look just alike. Krishanda got a sister." You would have thought that, like, they won $1 million or something. Like, they were like, "So, I'm so sorry." Oh, yeah, I'm waking my baby up.
Oh my God.
Here, go to Papa.
I'm gonna stick a butt.
I'm sorry, my stinker boy. But, yeah. And they started calling me Baby Ray. That was my nickname at the school. And there were times that I also didn't have lunch money. And I remember one time I had a balance on my account. The next time I went to school, the balance was gone. I was like, "Yeah, I know I have a balance." I was getting ready to pay it with because I had gotten the Social Security check. I was using my Social Security checks to pay for my cell phone bill. I was using it to pay for clothes. Well, I didn't really have any clothes or shoes. That summer, my sister had bought me some, but I didn't really have a lot of money. I was using it just to upkeep with myself, you know, buy lotion, body wash, feminine care, cell phone, you know, all of that stuff, food. So, I remember I had got one. I was like, "Okay, I could pay for my lunch now." And she was like, "Sweetheart, your lunch has already been paid." I was like, "What?" The teachers was doing that because they seen it with my sister. So it's like they already knew. And Miss Brown, I love her. She was an English teacher. She had told me she knew of my father. She said, "I went to high school with your dad." But then she was also like, "If you need anything," she gave me a look, "you let me know," because they had known what my sister went through. And they called me Baby Ray. I felt honored to be called Baby Ray, y'all. I felt honored to be called Baby Ray. I was like, this is an honor. Like, I love my sister. Like, I didn't see it as I was beneath her or nothing. I saw it as, yo, she was the GOAT. Like, she was a G. Like, I love her. Like, yeah. You know, that made me excited. I was happy. So, Romeo. Remember I told y'all she had a boyfriend named Romeo. I remember she told Romeo to look after me because he was a grade under her. So he was a senior after she had graduated. I was a junior at this time. And she was like, "Make sure you look after my sister. She gonna need somebody." He was like, "Okay." He did. He would walk me because in that school district, you don't have buses. We didn't have any, but we had to walk to school. So she was like, "Okay, look after her." He would walk me back and forth to school, not to school, but he would walk me home from school pretty frequently. It would be me, him, and my stepbrother Montez. My stepbrother Montez was my dad's current girlfriend's oldest son. They had started dating because he lived on Lincoln. He moved out of Lincoln. When he moved from Lincoln, that apartment on Lincoln, he moved in. Her name was Tasha. He moved in with her on Daly. It was North College Hill on Daly. I think it was called Daly Road or something like that. No, I don't remember. It started with a D. Okay. Anyway, it was because I remember it was a street next to it that was called Marbeb or something. But they moved. I think it was Daly. They moved right there, and he moved into her house, right? So they met at church. This is when we were still going to Inspirational. But they moved. He moved in with her, and she had an older son named Montez and a younger son named Elijah. So I'm going to school here now, and y'all can saw all these memories, which is flooding me right now. I'm sorry. So I'm trying to it's a lot to unpack, and we only got, okay, come on, I can do this. So it comes, I'm 17 years old now. So I only have 1 year before I'm able to access all of this money. This is when I started to see the seesaw effect, right? My sister gets a job. She buys her first car with her money. She buys her dad a bike motorcycle with the money. We already started to see a lot of greed come out of my father with the money because he was acting that way towards my sister. And he was upset that he couldn't access the money I did, right? I had. So, 17 at this point. And I remember Romel would come to the house just to check in on me. Her and Romel had broke up, by the way. And I told you, she never told me why. I just respected it. But they broke up. After she started going to NKU. She started going to NKU, they broke up. And so I remember one time she came by the house. She got mad at me because she, like I said, her volleyball stuff, her sports stuff was her life. Like, she loved those clothes. I would wear them sometimes, and a lot of times her hoodie, because it was cold outside, y'all. I didn't have a coat. I was freezing. I would be walking to school literally with a short sleeve uniform shirt on. So I would wear her. That was the only thing that was in the closet. My dad ain't buy me no coat. So I had put a coat. You know what I'm saying? I was putting on her stuff. Mm-hmm. She seen me in one of her volleyball, what do you call that, hoodies, and she flipped. She went off. Why are you wearing my stuff? I told you not to be wearing it. She started going off on me. See, that's what I'm talking about, because she wearing my stuff. Mind you, I had lost a lot of my stuff because we moved, right? We didn't have time to pack up that entire apartment. I grabbed what I could and left. I didn't have a lot of clothes. My sister did buy me stuff over the summer. You know, we had a good summer, but I didn't have a lot of stuff. So I was borrowing a lot of my sister's stuff. So, and she had all that money, so she was able to get herself what she wanted. But this is when she started to take a turn for the worse. Like, you started to see the decline happen further. She going off on me. My dad got mad and was like, your sister don't have a coat. You know what I'm saying? She don't have a coat. What, you expect her to just freeze while she walking outside? It's not like she's trying to wear your stuff. She wore it because she didn't have nothing else to wear. Yes, I don't have a coat. It was snowing. I need to put something on. So I put on your hoodie. And I told her that. She didn't care. She wasn't listening to me. She just was, God, I don't care. You. So she gave me like a little jacket. She's like, here. Here. Just don't wear my stuff no more. All right, cool. Like, I won't, So then, I remember it was another time she came over. And Romel knocked, he knocked on the door. And she opens the door. She thought Romel was there to see her. He was there to see me. He came in. He was like, he looked at Ray. He looked at me. He was like, what's up, Tay? Like, my sister was like, and me and him, we caught up a little bit, talked, He gave me a hug, he gave Ray a little hug, whatever. He said hi to my dad, he wasn't rude or nothing. He was like, all right, because Romel and Montez were best friends. That's how they got introduced. Romel and Montez were best friends, and Montez again is my dad's girlfriend's oldest son. I met them that way too, but he had a crush on my sister, and he ended up asking her out to be his girlfriend. So that's how they ended up together. And mind you, she was that it girl, right? Every dude wanted her, right? At this time, the time he asked her out, she was the it girl. Everybody wanted her. Every dude wanted her. So, they was broken up by this time. And, he gave her a slight hug, said bye, my dad, walk off. And my sister looks at me and she goes, why is he here to see you? Because he was just checking up on me, I guess. I didn't call him and tell him to come over. I don't know. And she was like, that's weird. And I'm like, why is that weird? That's what she said, because that's my ex. Tay, that was my boyfriend. Mind you, my sister literally told me when he asked her out, he was nervous. She said she didn't even really like him like that. She only said yes. It was like a sympathy yes. Mm-hmm. Sure, I don't have a boyfriend right now. It was one of those. She wasn't really into Romel. I could promise you that. She wasn't. So, she wasn't into him. She wasn't. And she was like, mad at me, like going off on. She started going off on me again. Oh, that's my boy. That's what. And she brought my dad into the picture. Dad, like, yeah, she around my ex-boyfriend. Like, that's weird. And my dad was like, I mean, tell y'all hanging out. So I said, I'm not hanging out with him. I said, first of all, you told him to look after me. So now you getting mad because that's what he doing? She said, what are you talking about? I said, you told him to look after me. So he would make sure I got home safely from school. Sometimes we would stay after school. We would talk a little bit. And most of the time he talked about you. And now you want to be mad because me and him got close? Yes, we got close. You told him to look after me and to stay close. Those were your words. So I don't know who you going off on. And now she was like, but that's just weird. I said, I don't think that's weird. And she was like, but he here to see you. I said, him coming to see me instead of you is your problem. I did. I'm sorry. I'm flat when you start getting on my nerves. I kick it. Okay.
Excuse me?
Excuse me. Start getting on my nerves. Yeah. So I was like, him coming to see me and not see you is your problem. Okay. I didn't call him over here. I didn't tell him to come see me. I didn't even know he was coming. So you talk to him. You know what I'm saying? You talk to him about that. What you getting on me for? And my dad agreed with me. I was like, I didn't hang out at his house. I wasn't doing nothing inappropriate with him. It was literally during the hours of school. And then he would walk me home from school. And sometimes he would check on me. That was literally it. She got so mad, y'all. Mad. And I don't remember what happened. Oh yeah, I remember. She said, "Babe, you got something for my lips." I'm sorry, my lips are like.
Everything upstairs.
I need something for my lips, y'all. I do. Okay. But.
You want to get some?
Please. Hold on. Okay, y'all. Sorry, but when you talking a lot, your lips get dry. So I need some Carmex. But yeah, me and her go back and forth, whatever. But this starts to become a pattern, right? My sister starts leaving me out of stuff, which she's done before. Whenever she would get a best friend, she would kind of leave me out of stuff. And this was a pattern that she had shown when we were teenagers. Her friend Diamond, they were talking about boys and sex after she lost her virginity. They didn't want to talk, which I get. And then her best friend Teresa, remember her? So Teresa, they went to high school together, and they still stayed friends into adulthood. And I remember my sister was in college, her and Teresa was still very close. So my sister said that my dad didn't fill out the FAFSA paperwork or something properly. Something happened with her financial aid, and she wasn't able to go back to school. That was very disheartening for her, as you can assume. My sister ended up working as a nurse aide or something like that. And then she ended up getting her own apartment, which was still in North Collegeville, but she ended up getting her own apartment. I would go over there frequently. This was by the time I was a senior in high school. And I remember my boyfriend at the time, his name was Q. I talked about him in one of my other videos. We would actually go to her house a lot. I would go to her house a lot and then go see him. And then my sister had met a guy named Mike. She had met a guy named Mike. Mike was everything physically you would have wanted in a guy. So he was tall, dark-skinned, muscular, tattoos, And my sister, now she was interested in him. Okay, like I said, you can see the difference. She was interested in him. Okay. And they loved being together. She was all like lovey-dovey with him, all of that stuff. And he did tattoos. He did his own tattoos. So he would tattoo my sister up. That's a lot of those tattoos she got on her back and stuff. Mike was the one who did them. So I don't think I never got a tattoo from him, but he did my dad's tattoo. My dad ended up getting a tattoo, and I think Tasha did too. And ended up doing their tattoos too. So, he was, cool. My sister found out that he had a baby mama and a daughter. My sister found out that he cheated on her, and they broke up, and she got angry. Around I was 17, the first time I drank alcohol was with my sister in her apartment. They had Moet. It was her, Kelly. Kelly is my brother's first baby mama. And that I know of. Sorry, I have to say it that way. I know of. First baby mama, my oldest brother's baby mama. They had a son named Jamir, and he was born. There's a reason why I'm telling y'all this, because I'm about to go into this next long part, and then I'm gonna just skip around. But Jamir, and he was born when my mom was still alive, so she met Jamir. But my mom was disappointed in my brother for having a baby at such a young age. I mean, he was still growing. I think he was like 20 or something like that. No. This was the year before she found out. It was either the same year she found out she had cancer, or it was the year before. So he was like between 19, 20, somewhere in there. But found out, you know, he had a baby on the way. I was 15, 16. Oh my gosh, what? Were we that young? 15, 16, 17. No, he was 19 because my older brother is 4 years. Yeah, we were that young. So he was 19 when he had another baby. He was 19 when he had a baby by Kelly. So I say all this to say, around this time now, my sister has her own apartment. Her and Mike break up, you know, and then my sister leaves her apartment. When she leaves her apartment, her and Kelly become like this. My dad's baby mama, not my dad's. I'm sorry, my brother's baby mama. They become like this, like tight, right? And she, I guess she wanted a closer relationship with our nephew. But my brother wasn't really around. He was in and out. After my mom passed, he went on his own little path. He started drinking a lot, smoking a lot. I'm not gonna lie, he flashed his money a lot. My dad said he ran into him and he had money covered all in the back seats with girls in the back seats. Like, everybody wanted to be my brother's best friend. It was one of those stories you hear. Everybody wanted to be my brother's best friend when he had the money. The minute he lost all of it, ghost town. Ghosts. Barely heard from anybody. It was ridiculous. I'm so serious. And I seen my brother. He was, let's just put it like this. We all fell apart after my mom passed. I'm going to tell more of those stories when I talk about the story with my mom. Okay. But her and Kelly became like this. And I was 18. I'm going to tell y'all this story. Okay, so I told y'all my sister kind of started getting snippy with me, but she also wanted me to think that she was protective of me, right? Because then she would be like, Tay, I'm not the enemy. I'm not the one that's going against you. He is. She would point the finger at my dad. My dad would say the same thing about my sister. I'm not the enemy, Tay. Your sister is. She wants you for your money. My sister, my daddy wants you for your money. They were saying the same thing about each other. So I didn't know who to trust, but all three of us would still be seen as like the Trinity. Like, everybody always seen us together. It was just us three, right? But I started getting so confused at 16 because I didn't know. They would say the same thing about each other. I'm like, he's saying this about you, you saying this about him. I don't know. I felt like this.
Getting pulled.
Yes. So I remember this happened. It was my senior year. I had some school fees, not a whole lot, but I did pay my school fees. I had my cap and gown. I paid for my own cap and gown. My sister found out that I paid my own cap and gown and school fees. She got angry. And she was like, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of him being like this. She's like, that's your father. He's supposed to be the one doing that. He's supposed to be the one helping you celebrate yourself. He's, you know, she's getting angry, like, you know. And so I remember my dad had a dog named Brock. Okay, he was a pit mixed. I don't remember what he was mixed with, but my dad had a dog named Brock, black dog. Loved that dog, amazing. I love Brock. He was great. He was great. But my sister, I remember my dad had invited a girl over, and mind you, at this apartment, because my dad and Tasha split up. Okay, they weren't together anymore. They were together for 4 years. They split up, so me and my dad moved into North Creek Apartments, right? My senior year in high school. And my dad put the electric bill in my name and he made me sign the lease. Well, I guess you kind of have to if it's 18 and older. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was 18 legally, I had to sign the lease. So I did. And then Also, my dad put the electric. He had me put the electric bill in my name. He said, just put it in your name, but I'll pay for it. So I put the electric bill in my name. So, I don't remember. Actually, I do. I think I was, because I had the money at that time. Y'all, I was paying half the rent. I was paying half the rent. I would give my dad half rent money. I sure did. I was paying half the rent there. He would pay half, I paid the other half. So I was paying rent, the electric bill was in my name, you know, and so on and so forth. So I'm sitting here, and I was using the money that my mom had gave to us. It was a large chunk of money. But I'm sitting there, and my dad brings a girl over with a laptop or whatever. But I heard them. I got so angry because I got tired of it. You know what I'm saying? Going through all these years dealing with it. I called, and of course him and Tasha weren't together no more, but I called my sister and I was like, no, he ain't sleeping with this girl. Her and Kelly was like, girl, we on our way. We on our way. We on our way. Came over, knock on the door. So I opened the door for my sister. My dad was like, what? My sister going off on my dad, going off on him. And he was like, what you talking about? He's like, I went in there sleeping with her. And I was like, yes, you were. He said, now what you heard was us typing on the computer. Yeah. Yes. He was like, yes. He said, what you heard was the clickety click click of the laptop. I'm so serious. I was like, I'm pretty positive I know what I heard, right? So my sister going off on him, we go in my room, and my sister was like, come on, so you can come with me for the weekend. And mind you, she was living with Kelly. Kelly had ended up getting her own townhome at the time with Jameer, and my sister ended up going with her. So I'm like, all right, I'm packing some stuff or whatever. And Kelly's standing outside, right? Brock does not do good with strangers. He does not do good with strangers. He don't know you. He got to sniff you first, yeah. So I remember my dad going off, my sister going back and forth, my sister right here, I'm standing in between them, my dad right here. My sister, you a poor excuse for a father. You were supposed to do better with her. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you doing this stuff. You haven't changed in all these years. Da, 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 da. Mind you, this is just anger and hurt coming out of my sister at this point. She said, you a poor excuse for a father. He's like, yeah, and that's why you ain't got no place to stay. That's why you lonely. That's why you miserable. That's why you, and I'm in the middle like, y'all cut it out. I ain't supposed to escalate this way. Da, 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 right? Mm-hmm. My sister goes, pay for her cap and gown. Pay for her school fees. My dad, I don't know what, but something snapped in my father. He pushed me out the way and immediately started choking the crap out of my. He grabbed her, he slammed her down the bed and just starts choking the crap out of her. And I'm like trying to get him off. He won't come off. I yell, Kelly! She runs in the house. She's like, oh my gosh, get over her! So me and her like punching my dad, and you seen that devil come out of my father. And you could tell he wasn't aware. He was just choking the crap out of my sister. You know what I'm saying? You could tell she was losing breath because she went from going like this to, you know what I'm saying? So she was losing oxygen, and we trying to get her off. Next, you know, Brock, he doesn't like confrontation. He don't. We just hear, arr, arr. I'm like, and I turned around. Kelly was like, ah. Turn around, you see blood leaking from her face. Like, I was like, ugh. And then my dad, he let go, like, ugh. And then my sister said she got up, she was catching her breath, she took a breath, and she was about to swing at my dad again. Then she said, why y'all look? She turned around, was like, and Kelly, she leaking like this. She like, I need to go to the hospital. I need to go to the hospital. And Brock took off running. Because, you know, he was about to get in trouble. He took off running. So what had happened is Brock didn't like he was protecting my father and me. So he don't like the aggressor, but he didn't know Kelly. So he jumped on my bed and nipped Kelly on her nose and completely detached her nose right here. She had bite marks right here, and he completely detached her nose. So I need to go to the hospital. We was like, and so we grabbed her. We like, and my dad calls the police. My sister calls the police. They both called the police. So we putting stuff on Kelly's nose, trying to help with the bleeding or whatever. She go outside. The police get there. I know why he called the police, because my dad wouldn't let me leave the house. So I remember my sister, Kelly and my sister walked out. And I remember I was getting ready to walk out. My dad was like, get out, get out. As soon as my sister walked, he hurried, shut the door and locked it so that I couldn't leave the apartment. And he's like, you ain't going nowhere. Da, 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 da. And I was like, nah, you ain't about to keep me in this house. You know what I'm saying? Like, you tripping? You ain't about to keep me in here. So I'm trying to get around my father. And he like, you ain't going nowhere. I try to get up. My dad takes me and throws me to the floor. So I get tossed to the floor. Brock didn't like that. He jumps up and bites my dad. And my dad was like, bro, he bit him. And that made my dad stop. And then you heard boom, 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 boom. The police was at the door. And she's like, nah, he's trying to keep my sister in there. He trying to, yeah. I said, I ain't playing no more. And my dad, so they talking to my father. They looking at Kelly's nose. Like, it's a terrible situation. Like, they looking at Kelly's nose. We trying to explain everything that happened. And my dad was just lying through his teeth about everything. And they literally go to my sister. One cop goes to my sister and said, I don't know what's going on. He said, but I can tell you this. That man does not like you. He told this to my sister. That man does not like you. There is a seething rage when it comes to you. And it's because my sister, again, she knew all that. Remember, narcissists don't like being exposed. They don't like the person that knows all of their skeletons, that knows all of their secrets, that knows who they truly are behind closed doors. Because they present themselves to be one way in public and around everybody else. But behind closed doors, they feel like they can be themselves. They take that mask off and they show who they truly are. They don't like when that person that knows who they truly are escapes. They don't like that because their fear is being exposed for who they truly are. So he didn't like my sister for that. And so he would always spread lies throughout the family about my sister on purpose because he wanted to make sure I want to make her look bad before she gets the chance to make me look bad. Mm-hmm. He always did that. And so there was always rumors floating about my sister, and a lot of them weren't even true. If I'm being honest, a lot of them weren't true. But the family ate them up anyway. They ate it up. Ray this, Ray that, Ray's a bum, da, da, da. And I'm like, looking at my dad like, you saying this stuff about your own daughter. You know what I'm saying? Get a grip. You acting like a child right now. But this was before I knew what a narcissist was. So I'm like, okay. So this happened. I go with my sister for a little bit. I come back. And I remember sitting at the table. It was so quiet and eerie in that apartment. And my dad sits down. He's like, come on, I want to talk to you. Sitting down. And he was like, I don't know why you always want to take your sister's side or doing this. Your sister don't even like you. She don't even like you. She don't want nothing to do. He said, your sister wants to see you in a pit, Tay. I didn't want to believe him. I was like, whatever. You don't know what you're talking about. My dad went just like this. He said, you think you and your sister are like this. This is the two of y'all. He removed this finger and put it down. So that leaves this finger up. And he said, this is what your sister is really saying to you. I'm not going to do it on camera, but y'all get the picture. He said, that's what your sister is really doing to you. He said, you just acting so blind. You're acting so blind. Like, she's just your sister. I kid y'all now, my dad. Your sister is just your favorite. Like, you just love her more than anybody else. Mind you, I had lost my mom. I wanted my sister to be my best friend, but that didn't mean I loved her any less or any more than anybody else. My dad kept saying, you love your sister more than me. Why is there a competition? Like, they were in competition with each other. Why is there a competition? They would say the same things about each other. So my sister started to become really controlling. She did. And her and Kelly, I remember I had graduated high school. Yay me. My sister and my father were not talking after this incident. So even when it came to my graduation, y'all, they didn't even sit together as a family. My sister was over here. My sister sat over here, and Tasha, my dad, and they sat somewhere else. Now, Tasha and my dad still weren't together. We still was in our own apartment. She just came over to do my hair. She was so sweet, even though they broke up. She came over, she did my hair for me, did everything up. And I gave her one of my tickets and told her, you can come to my graduation. So she came. She did. She came to support. So yeah, we went to Applebee's afterwards and tried. Oh my gosh, y'all! No, it was Northgate Mall. Northgate Mall down now too. Dang. Yeah, the Applebee's Northgate Mall is where we went after my graduation. And I remember my dad got me something and Tasha got me something. It was beautiful. My dad got me this beautiful snow globe. I was so happy. And my sister's decline got worse. She ended up meeting a guy named Tyler. Tyler was her Manny. If y'all remember, Manny was the guy I talked about in my last video. If you haven't seen it, go watch that one. Tyler was my sister's Manny. He wasn't physically, like he was actually a bigger dude, but she met him on crew. Because what had happened was she ended up getting fired from her job. She moved out of her apartment. She moved in with Kelly. Her and Kelly got into it. We don't know what happened, but Kelly bleached all of my sister's clothes. Everything. Just about everything. She bleached all of my sister. My sister was out on crew. And crew just means she was kind of like a salesperson, but she would go from different states. She met people from all different places, and she got to see different parts of the world. You know what I'm saying? She was they called it crew. Mm-hmm. And that means she left Kelly by herself. Mind you, Kelly had gotten pregnant again and had another one of my brother's babies. Why she did that, I don't know. I love my brother dearly. But I'll be honest, he was barely there for the firstborn. Especially after my mom died. After my mom died, my brother was out of there. She got pregnant by him again. So now they had 2 boys together. And Kelly ended up bleaching all of my sister's clothes. And I remember this. I was thinking about going to TSU. Because you know when you're in high school, you're thinking about what high schools and stuff you want to go to. And I remember going to TSU. And Kelly looks at me and she says, if you move down there, you need to go by yourself. She's like, you need to go by yourself because I don't think that your sister has best interest for you, Tay. Don't take your sister with you. You need to go by yourself. I ended up doing my first year TSU. Her and Kelly weren't even talking no more. And this is the story where I said I moved down to Tennessee. I took my sister with me when I went down to Tennessee. Now, Tyler was abusive to my sister. He was beating on her, calling her all types of B's, so on and so forth. They ended up having a daughter together, Riley. But through all of this, I started to see my sister decline more and more and more and more and more, to the point to where she became, what's the word I'm looking for? Y'all know Lynn off of the show Girlfriends? What? I think that the baby bag is over there. Yeah, because she ain't got me too. I think mine disappeared though. But my sister became like a Lynn. She would jump from house to house. So my sister, she became like I kid y'all not, she became her childhood. She couldn't stay in one place. She didn't care about stability. She, y'all, when it came to love, she just wasn't very successful when it came to relationships. After her relationship with Tyler, you could tell she was just broken down. She did do better for a little bit after her daughter was born, because she told me, she said, my daughter saved my life. But y'all, my sister would always compare my life to hers. And I remember when we was going through our transition phase, this is when I was living with my ex Jay, and I had touched on this briefly, so I won't go into too much detail. But me and my sister, I was going to church and I was picking myself back up, right? I was about 21 years old. And I remember my sister was homeless for a little bit. She got provided everything she needed when she moved to Texas. My sister moved to Texas. She got provided everything she needed. They gave everything she needed for her baby. She was able to get an apartment. She got a car with no credit, y'all. God was blessing her. I feel like my sister saw that when you are not peaceful within yourself and God blesses you with a peaceful life, you can't accept it. You see it as boring. My sister felt exhausted from her baby because she said Tyler wasn't really around. So she was doing a lot by herself, but also it was too peaceful. She's like, I was away from family. I ain't had no help, this, that, and the third. That was her reasoning, right? But God was blessing her with everything she needed. And I remember when me and her, we would start getting visions of how our life would look, right? Because we start going, oh, we gonna have this together. It's like everything had to be less than. So I would be like, oh my gosh, example. Oh my God. I was like, I see my husband being this, that, and the third. Her husband had to be more attractive. Her husband had to be taller. Her husband had to be more successful than my husband. I was like, I see us living in a big old house with this many bedrooms, whatever. Da, da, da. And she was like, yeah, I feel like y'all gonna have a big house, but I'm gonna live in a mansion. My husband gonna be lucrative. Girl, I see him being Lou. He gonna have a whole lot of money. We gonna be Lou. He gonna be well respected. And because me and her was drawn from each other's energy, we were feeling the same thing. So I was bouncing back and forth with her husband, and she was too. We were feeling the same energy. So we were so excited, right? And I remember I was like, yeah, we're gonna go on yachts and stuff like that. And she was telling me about an organization she would start called Frog Living. Forever Relying on God. And I remember I was telling y'all about this too. And she was like, I would own the business, right? Because me and her would do this stuff together. And we said this, how it would be like a community where people could come to give their life over to Christ. However, if they came as a couple, they would have to sleep in separate beds and stuff like that. Like you couldn't sleep, there was no fornication. You had to abide by the commandments of God. And how we both would like enforce, you know what I'm saying, with our husbands. And she said, well, yeah, I would be the owner. You would be under me though, but you would be the boss, but I would be above you. Always. Always. I always had to be a step under her. It was never me and you about to do this together. We about to be in this together. It's me and you. You know what I'm saying? We about to. No, it was always, I'm up here, you'll be right here. And she was like, I would pay you good money. And I felt some kind of way about it. I just didn't say nothing, but I started to notice. This is when I started to notice. I'm like, why is it every time I have a big house, you know, and I'm like, oh, my husband gonna make good, oh, my husband gonna be rich, or, you know, it's like I always have to, yeah. I'm like, I don't get it. So I remember my sister started to say, every time I tried to do something with my sister, yeah, oh my God, I didn't even tell him how we became homeless. I didn't even tell y'all how we became homeless the first time. And we already at an hour, 56 minutes. I knew this video was going to be long. I knew, because this is a lot to unpack.
You might have to do a part two.
A part two? Well, I could just talk about how...
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, we probably gonna have to do. Yeah, this is a long one. Me and my sister became homeless the first time when we moved to Tennessee. So I had moved to Tennessee back in 2014. So I was too busy going back and forth looking for apartments and stuff because I wanted to be able to go back to school and get in-state tuition. So during this time, my sister, she wouldn't come with. I would take my brothers with me or whatever. My sister would come with me sometimes, you know, on the trips. She called me one time because I was going to meet her in Tennessee because she would travel to Louisiana with her boyfriend, Tyler. So we get there. She calls me and she's excited because she met this dude named Edward. She was like, Tay, I just met this dude, this older guy. He said that he could put you in a house. Forget an apartment, girl. He said he could put you in a house. 2014. I was like, what you mean he said he could put me in a house? She was like, yeah, he was a real estate, you know, agent. Or I think he owned, or he was a broker. Yeah, because he had his own business. He could flip, you know, sell houses, or he could rent them out, his choice. And he said that he would rent a house out to me and my sister. And she was like, he would flirt with her. But she was like, you can come down here and meet him, whatever. So I drive down there. I meet this man. And he was like, yeah, I done fixed this house up and I, you know, already rented this one out, but I have another property I could show you guys and I can show you what I'm going to do with it. So he shows us his property. It's a 2-bedroom, a beautiful house. It would be perfect for me and her. We loved it, right? And I was going to be the one putting up all the money. And he was like, I'm going to fix it up like this. He was telling us what he was going to do with it. He said, then I can rent it out to you guys. I just need you guys to fill out an application, be in town by this time, da, 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 da. So I fill out this application. He tells me I'm approved for that, right? For renter, because it's to rent, not to own. I gave him an application fee. I even gave him money for a deposit on this house, y'all. Gave this man money. I ain't talking about a little bit of money either. Gave this man money. He kept flirting with us and stuff. Like, oh, well, you know, if I could take you girls out to dinner and stuff. This man was like in his 50s. Gross. I'm like, gross. I was only like 20. I was 20 years old. This is gross. I was like, okay. So I'm like, he like, yeah, I could take you girls out to dinner. We could, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, we like, nah, we trying to stick to the business side of things, right? We telling our dad this because we felt like something was off, but we don't know much when it comes to selling houses and stuff like that. My dad was like, it sounds to me like he's too busy trying to flirt instead of stick to the business. So me and my sister had flew out there. I mean, not flew. We drove out there and we was in there to get all the paperwork and stuff down the hotel. We had booked extra night in the hotel just to make sure he wouldn't try to, like, you know, play any games. So he was like, he thought we had went back to Cincinnati, y'all. Why he drive to Cincinnati to go to the jazz festival? And he thought that we was gonna drive there. Cause he was like, yeah, I came to Cincinnati. You guys aren't in Cincinnati? No, we're still in Tennessee. He like, oh, you guys are still in Tennessee? Yes. He was like, oh, well, I'm here at the jazz festival. I was gonna invite you girls to come with me. We're not here for that. We're here to make sure everything's going good. He said, look, I received your money. I received, you girls are good. Okay, sir. So he would, you know, we went back to Cincinnati. He's keeping us updated on the house. We even put it on our calendar when we can move, right? We so excited. We like, we about to get a house. Like, we so excited. Like, we about to rent this house from this man. We so excited. So we counting down the days, Xing down the days, right? And we get to that day. We rent a U-Haul, pack up all of our stuff. We call him. We literally call him, I think, like a week before it was time for us to actually move in. And we go, is everything good on the house? He told us everything was good. He said, no, everything is good on this house. Like, you girls are good to go. Like, I promise when you get down here, everything is good to go. Like, you just need to come on down here. You know what I'm saying? Good to go. Good to go. All right, cool. So we get in the car. I get in the car, my car, and then we get into the U-Haul with all of our stuff, drive down there to Tennessee, right? And we waiting for him because he told us, you know, to meet up at this spot. He never shows to the spot that we were supposed to meet up at. We go to the hotel that we was gonna check in at. I checked into the hotel, and I'm like, he ain't meet us. Okay, cool. So we call him. We like, yeah, we here. When should we come to you to get the keys? He said, what are you talking about? When should we come to get the keys for the place? And he said, oh, that house, oh, I sold it. This man took my money, y'all. He took my money. He sold the house. He's like, I never said that you guys were going to actually have the house. You know, we were like, my sister was like, we literally packed up all of our stuff and came down here. We just called you 7 days ago and you said everything was good. Now all of a sudden, you gonna sell it out? You didn't tell. She going off on him on the phone. He said, okay, look, I have another property to show you guys. He tells us where to go. We drive, right? Mind you, I'm panicking at this point because I can't get back to school. I don't have a place to stay. I'm like, I done drove down here with all my stuff. My dad done waved us off and everything. Like, ridiculous, right? So like, we drive down there. We drive to this new house. Y'all, this house is like so small. When I say small, it's backyard trash. It looked like a flood or something had back there. Gutters all got sticks and stuff coming out of it. It's an old house. The bathroom is so small. Like, that house was probably like no more than 600-700 square foot. It was, yes, it was tiny. And I'm like, when I drive up, he said it's the little blue house on the left. And I said, she said the little blue. So and mind you, it's deceiving. Because when we drive into there, it's all these beautiful, colorful blue houses, yellow houses, red houses. We drive it past. Like, we thinking it's in that neighborhood. We like, oh, these are beautiful. Like, nope, you go off the road and go down this alley. Okay, we go down there and you see all these little skimpy houses. I'm like, I pulled up to that little blue house. I laughed so hard. I get out the car. I'm laughing so hard. I'm crying. And my sister look at me and I'm just, and that caused her to start laughing. And she looked at me like, why are you laughing? I said, because that's the only thing I can do right now. That's the only thing I can do right now is laugh. So I remember the people who lived in the other houses, you know, they was cool. They slept in their house. And I remember that was the first time I was looking like, oh, it must be nice to have a house. Like, that's my first thought, because now we were homeless. We had no place to stay. I had only rented the hotel for 2 nights. I was like, we have no place to stay. And I remember he was like, did you guys like that? He called us the next day and was like, do you guys like the house? My sister was like, terrible. He was like, well, she's like, terrible. He's like, well, I mean, it's going to get fixed up, right? It's going to get fixed up. It's going to be okay. And she said, no, this is terrible. And I ended up texting him that night, and I said, look, man, we're done doing business with you. You have a nice life. That's it. My sister was like, we should have did this to him. We should have did that to him. I could have called Tyler, because mind you, her boyfriend at the time is from New Orleans, and he actually was in prison for murder. So she was like, I could have called him to do this to him. I said, let God handle it. I kid you not. I said, his karma gonna come. I said, he let us out here to be homeless, and really it's because he wanted to sleep with us. He kept trying to invite us back to his space, invite us out to different places. I was like, he knew what he was doing. So that's how we ended up homeless the first time. Now, fast forward back. We in Tennessee, right? I moved to Tennessee with my sister, whatever. We have our jobs, whatever. You know, she still messing with her boyfriend at the time, so on and so forth. I ended up moving in with Jay. We ended up going to church. She moved to Texas because she getting away from Tyler finally. Her life seems to be doing a whole lot better. I'm getting closer to the Lord. She ends up driving to Virginia, living with my dad's ex-wife, Dee Dee. She drives to Virginia to live with Dee Dee and her 3 daughters. Like, I don't know why she did that, but she did that. And then after that, she comes to Tennessee to come and collect me. This is the second time we ended up homeless, because I moved out of the house with him, moved out of there, and I moved straight into my car. She was in her car, and we was homeless with a 9-month-old baby. Until I ended up asking a coworker, can we stay with her? Her name was Jamie. And she said, yeah, that's fine. So we ended up moving in with her, and I was so happy, y'all. I was so happy. And we kept trying to look for apartments, and I told you, every single time I would try to get one, it was like, it was already gone by the time I had the money for it. So I remember my sister kind of sabotaged this. Something told me something was gonna happen. We stayed there for all but a week. My sister started watching Power. Y'all remember Power? This is a big rich town. You know that one, you know, with 50 Cent, Ghost, you know, this is when that came out. So she watching that. I would be at work all night. My sister would be at the home at Jamie's house with the baby, and then Jamie would be at work. And then I remember I told Jamie I would pay her as soon as I could. I had to wait till the next paycheck. And I remember something told me, something was like, your sister going, because I felt the energy. I told you I always was good at feeling energy. Something told me, your sister going to start something. So I'm asleep on the couch, and I hear them in the kitchen arguing. My sister making us breakfast. They in there arguing, going back and forth. And I'm like, no, Lord, no. Like, God, no. Like, no. And my sister going on, I feel like you going through a lot right now. She said, there's something wrong with your energy. You must be going, I don't know what hurt you, going through what. And Jamie was like, you don't know nothing about me. You are so disrespectful. Mind you, my sister had been told this for a long time. You're disrespectful. You have no respect for nobody or authority. Like, you don't listen. This, that, and the third. You are so disrespectful, going off, right? So, I'm like, okay, she going off. So I get up, and Jamie comes up to me, and she says, I'm sorry to do this to you, because this is not your fault. She said, but you and your sister got to pack your stuff, and y'all got to go. And that is how we got kicked out. Now, my witchcraft video, I told y'all what happened after that, so I'm not going to repeat that part, but that is how we got kicked out of her house, because her and my sister first apologized to me, like, Tay, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have argued with her, da-da-da-da. Then she recanted, and she says, you know what? No, I'm not sorry. I ain't sorry. I ain't do nothing wrong. She wanted us out of that house anyway. This is when I started to see the pattern. My sister could never apologize for anything she did wrong, and it was always somebody else's fault. It was never my sister's fault. She couldn't go to college because of my dad. My dad and my mom couldn't have a relationship because of me. I don't know. You know, my sister didn't have a good relationship with my mom. And, you know, it was always somebody else's fault. So after that happened, we moved back in with my father. And my dad ended up, my sister, she got into it with my dad. My dad kicked her out. Y'all see a pattern here? My dad kicked her out. She had to move. Tyler ended up asking one of his homeboys, you know, he was close with, for my sister to stay. My sister ended up sleeping with him and getting pregnant by him. And I'm like, when she told me she was pregnant again, I was like, you're joking, right? And she was like, no. I said, you need to be. So this is when I go into the tail end of it. I'm probably going to stop this video right here and we can go into part 2, especially because this little one is getting fussy. So this was a long one. I knew this was going to be a long one because it's so much to, I think yours is going to be long too. No? After everything you told me.
Yeah, but I can make it short. I'll tell it though.
This was gonna be a lot to unpack because a lot happened. Come on, baby girl. I know, baby girl. So I'm gonna stop this one right here, and we're gonna end up doing a part 2, just so this one won't be too long. And then I'll pick up where I left off. Okay. All right, guys. Get this little one down.